This is Adeline Redesign Channel. I am going to show you how to do a paint wash. In my case, I'm doing a tan wash on mahogany, but these instructions apply to any kind of wood, any kind of paint wash. So whitewash on pine is very popular. The drawers on this, the whole piece, first of all, had the same finish. The drawers, I'm not doing a tan wash. I'm doing a dupe of a Sausalito finish from Pottery Barn, but I didn't want it to confuse you to make you think that you were looking at a tan wash in part of the video because those drawers will be seen. Whether it's tan wash, gray wash, or whitewash, whether it's mahogany, pine, or oak, whatever, first thing, you want to sand it. This is going to open the pores, which helps the wood absorb stains, paints, and sealants. In this case, the watered down paint is going to act as a stain. So we're still going to see the beauty of the wood grain in this mahogany. For pine, with whitewash, it looks a little weathered. For something a little more polished, if you're doing mahogany, you might want to go to tan washing wood. On this piece, or these pieces, what I decided to do was sand down the tops. By the way, all of the shown parts on these nightstands is mahogany. Everything that you can see is mahogany. And if I had more time or ability to, well, if I had more time, which means money, to have done so, I would have removed the paint and the stain from as much of it as I could. But to make a tan wash, you use 1 part paint that's tan and 1 part water to start with. I instantly decided that for me that was too thick, and so I added another third of water. So for me, this wash was 1 part tan paint and 2 parts water. You find what works for you and the speed at which you go. Start slowly before you go too far, because it's easier not to have to remove any of it than it is to feel like you need to add more. Similar to a haircut, you cannot go back in a lot of ways, but of course you can. It's just more challenging. So start off, the side of caution you want to be on is not adding enough paint wash. You can see here the major color change that's taking place because mahogany has so much red in it, is why I chose to do a tan wash to make it match the rest of the piece more than it does as is. You can apply the wash in whatever fashion you want, really. You can use a foam brush, you could use a sponge, you could use a paper towel, and you let it sit for as long as you like. I'm not letting mine sit for very long at all. How long it's going to need to sit will depend on too many circumstances for me to give you any solid advice on how to do that. It's why I say err on the side of caution where you're not putting enough, because after I remove the excess, after I've waited a little bit and I allow the top to dry, I'll be able to determine if I want to add more of the wash. In my case, I will do another coat of the wash before I go to a top coat. How much of a major change a tan wash can make on wood like mahogany is very obvious in this video, and you can see that it's not too hard to do, and it has become common practice among a lot of people that refinish furniture because mahogany is so beautiful, but we don't import it anymore. It's one of the few opportunities that we're going to have for as long as we know to see mahogany is to see it by refinishing old furniture. The next steps that you see me taking there is I'm sanding down the lines in between where the tape was. Not strictly necessary, but it's going to give it a smoother feel and a slightly better look. I'm also doing literal touch-ups with my fingers, and at the end grain you can see the tan wash took much better. I decided it's time to put these together just to get a visual on what it's going to look like before I apply my top coat. My top coat choice for these is going to be a water-based polyurethane. Water-based polyurethane typically is my choice for a top coat. It's easy to work with. It dries quickly. It is water-based, so the cleanup doesn't need to involve mineral spirits, but I will say that it will ruin a brush. So I use a foam applicator that I'm able to just then throw away. And water-based polyurethane also has very low VOCs. One of the reasons I choose it over polyacrylic, which you will see plenty of people using polyacrylic, is that polyacrylic can be more brittle. Everything has advantages and disadvantages, so that's not me ragging on polyacrylic entirely, but it may not be for everyone. One of the more common top coats is oil-based polyurethane, or I should say one of the more well-known top coats. It's not as often used as it once was for a couple of reasons. First of all, the environment doesn't like oil-based products as much, and they're harder to work with. The chemicals and fumes create a challenge. And two, they yellow over time. So on darker material, there you see that's wet. That's what it would look like if I top coated it right then. And I do not believe that that has enough of the red taken out of it. So I'm going in to do another wash with the tan paint and 2 parts water. General Finishes top coat is award-winning and incredibly durable. It's also particularly expensive. There are a lot of furniture waxes that go on after chalk often that create a depth that's quite beautiful, and those can also be fairly expensive. And one of my favorite options is Deft Clear Wood Finish. The thing to be considered for you, if you want to do something like this, is how much product do you really need. If you're not going to be doing a whole lot of projects, then going for general finishes or going for a wax is going to cost you quite a bit of money. But you can get a small container of water-based polyurethane or water-based polyacrylic at a fairly affordable price compared to the other options. You can also get a spray-on. Deft Clear Wood Spray is what I use and love. You can get water-based polyurethane in a spray. There are a number of options. If you would click that would be likable. And if you wanted to help support my work by sending me $1 via Venmo at Adeline Redesign, I would like to accept that $1. Do not send what you do not have. It's free content. Keep watching. The pieces have the final look that I'm going for after having put them together, just to get a view of that. I'm very pleased with them. How much time it took is incredible. I doubt I'm going to make minimum wage if I sell this for a pretty high price. One of the drawers I had put wood putty on because it had some minor damage. I'm now using a furniture marker just to cover that up and camouflage it. If you want to camouflage something, go darker rather than lighter, because light is what attracts the eye. So that would be the side of caution you err on. Here I'm using water-based polyurethane that I poured into a separate container to make sure that I'm not contaminating my polyurethane can. Back to a little bit more about paint. I want to talk about where we fail with paint, or where paint fails with us. The main reason for a failure is us. It's probably not the paint very often. Dilution is one issue that paint faces. It's when someone puts too much water in and it goes against the manufacturer's recommendation. The over dilution or using something that you're not supposed to dilute it with can be a problem. One of the other issues is contamination. Foreign contaminants can cause some defects within the paint, and it's why straining is good. It's why trying to have a room that you don't sand in be the same room that you paint in. That's a big ask. But even so, it's just a fact that the contamination issue, getting schmutz, is, as I call it, is a pretty big issue that you just keep an eye on it as you're going through and while it's still drying. Since we use water-based so often, that makes it less of an issue. Oil-based would pull things in all day because it stays wet for so long. Peeling and blistering is usually due to improper surface treatment before the application, and it has something to do with how much moisture is in the substrate, so whatever is beneath that paint if it gets too wet. Unrelated to the popular kind of paint, chalking is where there's a powder on the surface. Usually excessive sun exposure is what causes that, and so it's more likely with outdoor pieces or improper surface preparation. I'm going to add in the video here a little bit more of that paint using just the rag to do a paint wash. You can see the side by side there. They're not quite matching, but I get them to a point where they match very, very well. And I am incredibly pleased with how these turned out. Adding on another coat of water-based polyurethane here. I may go back with the general finishes for that incredible durability. I have put enough water-based polyurethane on these pieces by the time of this recording that it would be overkill, but I love them so much. Thank you for watching. Please click like or subscribe, and check out the final product here. It's really so beautiful, and the changes that were made were a lot of effort, a lot of thought and time went into this project. I love them so very much. I welcome any feedback that you have for me, any corrections on things I've said, any subscription you would like to click on, or send me $1, also cool. But look at that mahogany. What a beautiful, beautiful thing. I couldn't be more pleased. I think these are two of my I know these are two of my favorite pieces yet. Mahogany was also in one of my other two favorite pieces. I think it's likely the next mahogany piece I'm going to get, I'm going to try to stay with the red hues. A before and after here is shown again so you can see the giant contrast. Also, I went on vacation and here's some cats sitting in a potted plant. That seemed like it was noteworthy enough, except then I saw this really pregnant goat and wanted to point that out. I'm going to show you another picture of these side tables. Love them. What's coming up next is really exciting for me. I got 8 nightstands to try to flip in a bit of an assembly line fashion. I'll be funning around and finding out. Come join me.